All right, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, I want to say thank you everyone for being here and welcome to the first meeting of the 54th session of the GPS Senate. Congratulations, all of you, on your successful elections to your senator seat. That is a great accomplishment. I know we're happy to have you here. If y'all want to go ahead and find your name tags and grab food and sign in on the sign-in sheet right here, whenever you get a chance, go for it. Let me introduce myself. My name's Katie Heath. I'm the one that sent you 18 emails in the past week. I am the Senior Vice President for GPSG, and I'm going to be the one presiding over these meetings, which is super exciting. I'm going to start off with, because this is our first meeting, which is a little bit of background, a little bit of information for you all as senators, just on a little bit of sort of how this meeting is going to go. So let's get into it. Is that working okay? Cool. All right, so just looking over at the sheet. So this is the structure of the GPS Senate, and this is kind of where you are at right now. So I'm the Senior Vice President. I preside over the Senate, and then all of you are senators who are representing the 76 academic programs or departments that we have on campus. Additionally, we have our President Pro Tempore, which we're going to work on electing in just a little bit, who is going to function as the senior member of the legislative branch and also assists with meetings. Additionally, we have standing committees, and these standing committees are sort of where our legislation goes to be kind of started. It gets written, it gets sent to the committees, and that's where we make changes and where the good stuff happens. We'll talk about all these in a minute because we will be electing those committee members today as well. But I just wanted you to see a little bit that you all make up a very, very important part of GPSG, where a lot of work gets done, a lot of great initiatives can get started. And so my goal this year is to help you all. If you have an idea, like, let's turn it into something and let's make some action happen. So I did want to mention a couple of things that you all as senators have the ability to do. Some examples are you can approve our budget and including deciding how we spend our money. Where do we put it? You get to approve funding for appropriations for different groups on campus to have events, and approve funding for travel awards for individuals. You get to approve presidential appointments. You get to amend our code. You can author and pass formal resolutions that state an opinion of the GPSG. You can initiate changes to the Constitution. You can approve student fees and require reports from all of the organizations that we fund. So this is just some examples of the many powers that you all as senators have. So keep these in mind. I want to start off by talking a little bit about just general expectations. If those of you that were able to attend orientation, you will have seen some of this before. But first of all, the first and main expectation is that you attend 70%, 75% of full Senate meetings in order to be counted as your unit being in good standing in order to get your allocations at the end of the year. You also can join a standing committee if you'd like and attend at least 80% of those meetings in order to earn an allocation bonus. In general, I want to encourage you all to correspond with your constituents as much as possible. Generally, I sent out before the meeting a little summary of the legislation that we were going to be talking about today, and I want to encourage you in general to send those to your constituents to give them the opportunity to consider the legislation that we are talking about and to give your opinions. Additionally, I'm going to be sending out notes at the end of the meeting that includes both the minutes from the meeting and also just general announcements. A lot of people like to do things like newsletters, like emails that you send out and announcements. Maybe you have a group Slack or GroupMe or something like that. I encourage you to use those avenues to send information to your constituents because it's your job to represent all of those students and be their voice and their representative. You also are required to get your allocation at the end of the year, host at least one social gathering or town hall with the members of your program. And we can talk more about that in detail another time, but in general, that'll be that town hall once a year. And then just be engaged with Senate meetings. I can talk at a brick wall for hours if you let me. So please interrupt me because I can just go forever and I will. So please interrupt me. Feel free at any point to raise your hand and ask questions. We do use Robert's rules here, and I'll talk about it a little bit, but do not be afraid to raise your hand and say, I have no idea how to use Robert's rules and I want to do something or I don't understand something. Do not feel bad about doing that. That is totally the expectation. And we're happy to help walk you through that process. And the last thing is I highly recommend that you read the GPSG code to learn more about your actual codified duties. There is a senator quiz in Canvas right now that you can take for the next week that is based off of the GPSG code, and that can help you get a little more familiar with the GPS Senate. So a whole bunch of stuff. One other thing I want to talk about is speaking in Senate, like I just said. So in general, if you would like to ask a question, if you would like to make a motion, I just ask that you please raise your hand and wait for me to recognize you. If you are on Zoom, please just use the raise your hand feature on Zoom. I will do my best to notice, and hopefully Luke will also help me catch it. If I don't catch it immediately, just keep making a nuisance in the chat or whatever until I notice, and I will do my best with that. I ask that you please wait to speak until you're recognized, and when I do recognize you, please state both your name and your unit so that when we're taking notes and minutes for the meetings, we have that information and so everyone else knows who you are. On Zoom, if you can share your video, that would be cool, but you know you may be somewhere interesting and might not want to share your video, and that's okay. And in general, if you make a comment in chat, I will do my best to try to catch it and answer it, but it's not necessarily going to be recognized by me. So I would recommend just raising your hand in order to speak would be better. Additionally, we're going to be voting on some legislation today. I ask that you please, only one senator from each unit, please vote. So does anyone here have a co-senator? As in there's more than one of you in your unit? So you all should, at some point, maybe you already have, confer with your co-senater and figure out who is going to be the one voting at the end of the meeting today, because only one of you should submit the voting form. And we will take some time if we need to do that later. And their name is on the sign-in sheet. So if you don't have any idea who your co-senator is, you can look at the sign-in sheet. Voting is required in order for your attendance to count for the meeting. So even though you have signed the piece of paper at the front of the room, in order to be counted for attendance, you also must additionally vote. That's very important. We'll talk about this. I'll have this link up again, but Hugh Life is where we're going to be doing our voting forms. And you'll see all that stuff when you get there. Additionally, we most likely will have motions that are called onto the floor. So for example, let's say Joshua says, I would like to make a motion that we start Senate. That would be a weird motion, but let's say that happens. And we have a second on the floor. Then at that moment, we will consider having discussion and we will vote. When we vote on a motion such as that, we will generally do a voice vote, meaning I will ask for those in favor say aye, those against say no, and we will just sort of do a voice vote. And then for those, we're not actually going to do Zoom poll. That's wrong. Ignore that. Well, I'll also just have those on Zoom unmute as well and give their voice. And only one senator from each unit should be voting on those motions as well. And if you'd like to abstain, you can abstain. Usually the reason is you feel like you don't have the ability to make the choice or you have a conflict of interest. But I do want to say, like, generally, just because let's say you know the person that is being appointed, that's not considered a conflict of interest. Potentially, if it's you might not want to vote on your own appointment, that might be considered a conflict of interest. But if you know the person or something like that, that is fine and not considered a reason to abstain. Okay, so I would like to now call the first September meeting of the 54th session of the GPSG Senate to order. I've been excited to do that for months. Okay. The agenda, you all can find it. It is located. Thank you for the woo, Kendall. That's good. I apparently can see those in the bottom. The agenda can be found on Canvas. Oh, I heard a ghost of myself. If you can follow the link in here. This is also in Canvas, so assumingly you'd go to Canvas first. If anyone needs help accessing Canvas, maybe ask Luke, and Luke can help you, right? You have the ability to do that. If anyone needs help getting access to Canvas, either put a message in the Zoom or go talk to Luke, and Luke will make sure you have access. But everyone in theory should have been invited, but I could have potentially missed a couple of people. I think I might have missed yours, so you might want to go ask. Okay. The first thing I'd like to do on the agenda is approve the standing rules. There have been no changes to the standing rules from the standing rules of the last session, but this is sort of something that we are required by the code to approve. A copy of the standing rules can be also found in Canvas. Can I hear a motion to approve the standing rules? Do I hear a second? All right, we have a second from, I saw Duncan was is it McLean? Is that how you say it? McLean was the first one that I saw. Are there any objections? Seeing no objections, the motion passes by way of unanimous consent. Good job, we did it. Okay. The next thing on the agenda that I want to talk about is our annual budget. I just think that that's something useful for us to go over. And to hear, I'm going to pull that up, and I also want to pass a microphone to Nathan. I don't know where Nathan ended up in the room. I don't have my glasses on. So I can pull that up. I didn't pull it up ahead of time, so let me. Yes, I did. Just kidding. It's right here. Is the light on it? I think.
Do you want me to just go over there?
Yeah, sure, okay. That works. Yeah.
Check. All right. So this is a big document, but there is not a whole lot that we actually need to talk about. So yeah, I see. Great. So our annual budget for this year totals out to about $161,000. So this is the projected fee revenue. And sorry, I misspoke. This is our projected fee revenue. If we scroll all the way to the bottom of the document, the total amount of money that we're working with this year is $184,000. You'll notice that we are running a $23,000 deficit for this year. That is because if we scroll all the way back up to the top of the document, we have a reserve fund of all of our unspent fee allocations from previous years that is almost sitting at almost $200,000. So we are technically not supposed to have a $200,000 surplus in fee revenue because we are supposed to spend fees in the year that they come in. However, during COVID, we did not spend all of our money regularly because not a whole lot was happening on campus, and so we've ended up with this giant reserve of money. As a result, we made our budget this year a little bit bigger than it would be in a typical year to try to spend down some of those reserves. However, we did not make our budget $400,000 because we want to have a somewhat sustainable level of spending year to year, just so that people don't, get accustomed to a larger budget line and then we have to take it away from them the following year. All right, so that's a little bit of context on what's going on with our budget. So then scrolling through, the first few sections of our budget are related to exec. So these are funds that are approved by you, the Senate, because the Senate approves this budget, but is not directly spent by the Senate once it is approved. So the first line item is small stipends for various executive members of the Senate, of the student government, some of the cabinet positions, and then also the committee chairs of the Senate committees also get a small stipend. So Katie said we will be electing those today. So keep these budget line items in mind when you think about whether you would like to apply or not. It's not a full-time job, but it's something in your pocket. So if we look at all of the, and then we also stipend some of the judicial roles for honor court, attorney general for student courts, etc. These are pretty new, but we now stipend some of the judicial positions and also a few auxiliary personnel like a comptroller. I don't know if any of you have ever done comptroller style work. People don't generally want to do that, so we pay them to do it. But we are potentially getting a full-time comptroller in the business office, so we might not have to have that line going forward. Anyway, so the total amount that we spend on staff comes out to about $40,000 of our budget. This is pretty much unchanged from last year. We actually cut a few positions, so it's a little bit less than we spent last year, but this is pretty consistent with that. So moving on. So again, that's not anything that you guys are directly spending, but that is stuff that you vote on to be approved or not. Next up, we have a few operating expenses. First off, we have, I guess the main thing in the office supplies, we have a little, pens, pencils, all the name tags you see sitting around are theoretically funded by the office supplies part of our budget. But then also for meetings, you see the food in front of you, we have a line item for that. Also for a few retreats, the senator training and stuff that you guys do, we fund as well. So we have a few things there. A note here, these line items as well, these are spent by the exec on behalf of the Senate. So these are not things that we vote on the use of, but you should be aware that we are spending money there. Moving on to programming. This programming money is money, once again, that the exec spends on behalf of the Senate. So we have some cabinet projects and some social programming budget for exec to spend on behalf of GPSG. This amount is usually lower. I think it's usually maybe $10,000. We bumped it up because we were trying to spend down our surplus. Don't worry, we also bumped up the amount that you guys can spend on social programming as well. That's in a different line item of the budget. So if we look at orientation, this is what those of you went to. This line item is for that. For executive travel, this is to conferences and stuff like that for leadership development for exec. And then we have cabinet projects and social programming. These are for events that are put on by the executive committee on behalf of GPSG. They can get funds out of these buckets. Also for any kind of cabinet projects such as environmental initiatives, et cetera. If we want to have exec go around and meet with all of the different programs that would potentially come out of the social programming or cabinet projects budget line items. But again, those are funds that are spent by exec. Okay, now moving on to the stuff that's directly relevant to you guys. We have unit funds. So first off, we have town hall funding. So as you guys learned in orientation, or as you will soon learn, each of you will be required to host town halls with your departments at least once during the year. We fund that endeavor out of this town hall funding budget of $6,000. So each of you will be able to apply for a certain amount of money to the Senate Finance Committee that gets paid out of this bucket and then be reimbursed, or if you plan ahead, get it put on a key card with the business office. Try to do that a few weeks in advance. And that will come out of the town hall funding bucket. Next up, we have allocations. I believe these were probably discussed also at senator training, but will be discussed more later. If you are a good senator and you come to enough of our Senate meetings and vote in all of them so that your attendance is counted, and you have your town hall, your department will be eligible to receive allocations from GPSG so that you can put on some kind of event for your department. It's a reward essentially for you doing your job as a senator. So that comes out of this allocations budget. This is money that's again distributed directly to your department at the end of the school year. And that, yeah, again, budgeted $20,000, unchanged from last year, more or less. Moving on again to grant funds. These are also funds that you guys vote on the use of. So the travel awards go to students who apply to get funding from the Senate to fund travel, whether it's to a conference, usually it's to a conference, or to some other kind of school-related event. That money is approved through the travel award committee of the Senate, which again, you'll be voting on the composition of later today. That budget has increased for this year, again, trying to spend some of our reserve funds up to $35,000. So you have a good amount to work with, but you'll be surprised by how quickly it is spent. Next up are social and Senate appropriations. Social appropriations is a bucket that we have for student organizations to hold social events using GPSG money. They will apply to the appropriations committee, shockingly, to do that. Senate appropriations is very similar. It's just a different bucket of funds. So social appropriations are for social events, specifically, whereas Senate appropriations are for other types of events, like if you have a speaker come and give a presentation or something like that on a particular topic. A student organization can apply to GPSG to get funds from us to fund that type of event. And depending on the type of event it is, it'll come out of one of those two buckets. And that funding is controlled by the appropriations committee, who will review applications and decide whether the funds can be dispersed up until they reach the budget maximum. Next, we have an emergency fund. So that emergency fund is for graduate students who have, shockingly, emergencies throughout the semester. Like, if you spill water on your computer and can't afford to replace it, you can apply to the emergency fund. And if the committee that governs the emergency fund, yes, there's another committee, determines that your emergency is dire enough and worthy of funds and is not covered in the exclusion criteria in the code, then they will fund you out of this emergency fund budget. It is my understanding that in the past, we've often spent down our whole emergency fund. I don't know that we spent all of our money last year, but we did bump up the fund a little bit for this year because we tend to spend it down. Finally, there are some, I think 1 or 2 awards, mentorship awards that are given out by GPSG. So we have a small line item in here to fund those awards. Yeah, that's more or less it. And then we have I think, mandatory charge to for the honor system as well, to support the workings of the honor court, et cetera, et cetera. We have a mandatory charge to the business office for their administrative support. We can't get out of paying that. And then we have to balance the budget. So we have 2.98 in the reserve fund from our fee expenditure, though I think that can be gotten rid of. All right, so that was a very brief overview of the budget. Are there any questions? Does anyone want any clarity on any of these different items? Yes.
Can I ask about how much you're spending up as opposed to a year in this budget?
So like, how does the amount budgeted compare to how much we typically spend? It's normally a struggle for us to spend our whole budget. There are some line items that get spent more quickly than others. For instance, travel awards always goes pretty quick. Sometimes it can be a challenge to spend all of our appropriations money. I know last year I think we did end up spending all of our appropriations funds, but for the majority of the year, it kind of looked like we're not going to. And we also voted to take some of them away and put them in other buckets. In the past, occasionally, we've not spent our entire executive social budget, though we did end up spending all of it last year. So I would say, again, I've been doing this for roughly about a year. I know last year we spent more than we did during COVID, but I don't know that we were entirely back up to our typical spending levels. I'd say we probably spent $120,000 last year, something of that nature, and our budget was $160,000. So one of the issues that we run into as well is, for instance, let's take travel awards as an example. We often commit our entire budget to students who are traveling, and then maybe somebody doesn't submit receipts, right? So that we actually never end up paying them because they never submitted for reimbursement, even though we approved the funds. So stuff like that will happen, and then we'll underspend in the travel awards, even though we committed our entire budget to people. Again, also with appropriations, people have to apply to get funding. So if people don't apply to get all that money, then we can't spend it all. So it varies a lot just based on who applies in a given year to the certain set of funds. So yeah. Yep, you bet. Oh, another question?
Something dumb. Fernando Quijano from PhD in Business. Just in line 81 that you have 3.1.2 going to 3.1.4, just to fix that. That's it. Line item 70, like line in Excel, 81.
81, you said?
Yeah. So 3.1.2, yeah.
You're right.
small dumb thing, as I said.
Thank you. You know, that fixes the, you know, I was wondering why the whole document was wrong, and that fixes it. Okay.
Thanks.
All right. Thank you. Important. All right. Any other questions? Yes, one more.
All right, Riley Stahl, Public Administration. I just have a question. I heard that there is a possibility of a bill being passed where we're required to do 2 town halls. So in that instance, will we be able to reallocate to our town hall funding budget later?
That's a good question. So this could also be a general question. So it is always possible throughout the school year, or I guess throughout the session of the Senate, for you guys to amend this budget. So you can do that in multiple ways. You can reallocate funds from one line item to another. You would just have to pass a bill in the Senate to do that, which should go through the Senate Finance Committee so that they can look over it before it goes to the floor. And if they decide that that reallocation makes sense, once they've talked to the people who are impacted by the change, they can, you know, decide to stamp that bill for approval to go to the Senate, and then you guys would all vote on it, and the change would be enacted. The second thing you could do is actually pass a reserve allocation bill, which would move money from the reserve, which is very large, into the main budget to be spent. As it is, we are not allowed to spend reserve funds unless we do that. If they are in the reserve, they are off limits until the Senate votes to put them in the regular budget. And we have to maintain a minimum reserve of 1/3 of our budget for the year. We are not in danger of falling below that at this moment, but if we try to put $200,000 into our budget, we will run afoul of that. We will have to scrap that idea. So yes, you guys have the power to change this document as you see fit, as long as enough of you agree on it. So, all right. And with that, I guess I'll turn it back over to Katie. Yeah, awesome.
Thank you all for those questions. If this just sounds exciting to you, the Finance Committee might be your place. Just saying. Thanks, Nathan, for doing that. That was great. Okay, so the next thing that we are going to do, our next piece of business, is we are going to elect the president pro tempore, which is how I've been told. I think that you're supposed to say that because I've been saying tempore for months. So I will talk a little bit about the role of that position. So generally, their role is to strengthen ties between the legislative and executive branches. They advocate on behalf of GPSG Senate, and they work extensively with me in order to meet the needs of Senate. So that's one of kind of the primary responsibility of this position, is to help me with all of this that we're doing. And there's a couple of duties, presiding over meetings, especially if I'm unable to be there, and also just in general helping, maintaining a list of speakers and the timing during Senate meetings, representing the Senate in a couple of different committees, such as the Student Fee Audit Committee, the Student Leadership Advisory Committee to the Chancellor, and I think there might be a couple more, as well as serving as an ex officio member of the Oversight and Accountability Committee. What I would like to ask, we had no pre-nominations ahead of time, and so I would like to ask the floor if anyone is interested in self-nominating for the position of President Pro Tem. Yeah, here, can someone put a microphone over there? Maybe we need more microphones. Can you just state your name and your unit so we can hear you? I think it's on. I think I can hear it.
Hi, I'm Lauren Rackley. I'm from Biostatistics Department.
Awesome. Thank you. Is anyone else interested in self-nominating for the position? Joshua Bakita?
Yes, Joshua Bakita, Computer Science. And I can say a few words about that as well, if you'd like at some point.
Anybody else? All right. Oh yeah, no, go. Yes.
Duncan McLean.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, that's 3. Anyone else? Going once? Going twice? All right. Thank you all so much for your self-nominations. I'm super excited to hear that we have multiple people interested. And so what we're gonna do is I'm gonna ask all of you to maybe 3 minutes to talk about a couple of things in order to introduce yourself to the Senate. And then we are going to have a ballot and everyone's gonna vote. Luke, do you have the ability to go onto Heal Life and put those names into the ballot for President Pro Temp? Can you do that? Because we're gonna do that now. We're not gonna wait until the end of the meeting. So that's why we need, yeah, so. But feel free to do that as we're talking. So I think we're gonna go in order. So I think you get to go first. And so the questions, I guess, that I'm sort of gonna ask you to answer are going to be a little bit about your qualifications for the position, about why you're interested in the position, what you think, you know, what would you like to do as a person in this position, and how you think it will fit into your schedule and your current responsibilities. So feel free.
Okay, I don't know if I have 3 minutes worth of things to say, but I am working on my 3rd degree here. I've lived in North Carolina over 20 years. I've lived in 5 states in the US. I used to be the campus safety advocate in GPSF when it was still called that. I feel like since I have been an undergrad here, I could be able to liaise with the undergrads as well. I used to volunteer for Orange County Rape Crisis Center. I would like to continue to improve campus safety and try to improve funding based on some things that I've heard in my own experience.
Awesome. Great. Thank you so much. Okay. Joshua, you're next, I think. Other way. Yeah.
Okay, sure. I'll actually stand up. I have a few notes. I've been an undergraduate at UNC. I've been a graduate student now. This is my 6th year as a graduate student, hopefully my last one. I've been in student government for 8 of those years as an external appointee with the undergrads, and in Senate here now for a couple of years. I was president pro tempore last year, and I'd be willing to carry out the role again this year. Some of my goals would be to try and there's a lot we can aspire to do, and I've aspired to do a lot, but what I think is most helpful in the role is to think sort of narrowly about how do we just, as president pro tempore, how do I support committee chairs? How do I mentor them? How do I ensure that we do things well? Like, it's not all about my policies or where I see their problems, and I'd like to ensure some continuity with those conversations with administrators. But that's would be my main focus. I'm very encouraged to see some other nominees from the floor, and I would encourage, I may not vote for myself, we'll see. I'm getting a little tired. I'm the old, tired grad student. But putting myself up for the running now. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hello, and thank you to the floor for all your. Thank you. It's a moment to warm up. Right. Thank you for that. And thank you to everyone here for your consideration. My name is Duncan McLean. I'm a 2nd-year grad student in physics and astronomy. And I was interested in joining student government because I saw it as a way that we could basically take our concerns and the problems that we uniquely face as graduate and professional students to the university and kind of work on that in an organized manner. And I would like to help do that in any way that I can as a member of the Senate to advocate not only for my program, but for all of the common issues that graduate students face. I would say my main priorities are uniting the Senate in resolutions that could improve campus safety, access to facilities, accessibility on campus. Safe water was a topic that we discussed actually at Senator orientation. And I would like to contribute in any way I can. So I'm humbled by your consideration. I think that the 2 nominees who spoke before me are also very excellent, more qualified choices. But thank you very much.
So humble. That was great. Okay, so I think what we will do now is we will move to vote. You can access, I recommend the easy, yes, what's the question?
Yes, I was curious if we, this is Joshua Bakita, Computer Science. Could we potentially take a moment to ask questions of some of the nominees?
We certainly can do that, yes. That probably makes sense, actually, that we do that. Luke, do you have a question?
Yes, each of you please spell your names.
I've got the mic. Joshua Bakita, Joshua, the typical spelling, Bakita, Bakita. You should also be able to look at the listing of senators.
Yes, sure thing.
Awesome. Well, why don't, I don't want to take too much time because we do have a lot of things to get, but why don't we'll take a couple of questions and maybe we'll do, I don't know, maybe let's do 3-4 questions, something like that. Joshua, go ahead. Over here first.
Okay.
I can't read you. I forgot my glasses, everybody, so I won't be able to read the names of the people in the back. So I'm just gonna point and go you. I hope that's okay. So
Okay.
go ahead.
Ben King, Public Administration. My question would be, how familiar are you with parliamentary procedure in basically guiding the Senate as a body through legislation and working through an agenda? I'm sure you, having done the position in the past, are familiar with it, but to the other candidates, do you have any experience in that sort of role?
I do not have as much experience as the incumbent, but I would be happy to learn what I have to learn.
I would mostly echo what the senator from biostatistics said, and that I don't have any formal experience in parliamentary procedure, aside from club management and fund appropriations in undergraduate. I am, of course, also willing to learn and like to think I could rise to the occasion.
Great. I think I saw a question on Zoom, actually. Alex, if you want to unmute yourself.
Hello. Can you hear me?
Can.
Okay, great. I have a question specifically for Joshua. I was just wondering, since you had the role last year, what is something that you felt like went really well? And then what's something that maybe you didn't get to accomplish or something that you could improve on?
Yeah, thank you, Alex. So I think something that went really well was learning. So parliamentary procedure is something I've leaned into. I hadn't ever had any experience prior to joining the GPSG Senate in parliamentary procedure. And so I think that went well. I think helping Elena run the meetings went really effectively. Something that didn't go quite as well was trying to achieve quite as much as I would have liked, particularly in mentoring committee chairs last year, which is why I would want to focus more in on that this year. On most of the committees, we end up having there's a lot of new faces every year. So the committees also have a lot of new faces, and there's some mentorship there to help ensure continuity, to make sure committee chairs understand how to run things. And that was something I didn't have as much time to do. And I want to focus the limited time that I'd have towards that to try and do it better. Thank you.
Great, thank you. I see another question in the back.
Hashim Amir, economics. My question is, what would be your top 1 or 2 priorities for facing graduate students on campus, specifically graduate workers, i.e., people who get stipends at UNC?
I think we have to continue to work on the funding. Tonight, I was made aware of an issue in one department that is not getting paid on time. So I would work arduously to try to address that and increase more opportunities for people, because I myself don't even have a GRA. So it's very hard to live off student loans. So I can empathize with people who share my struggle.
Thank you, Duncan. I think that one of the biggest problems often facing graduate students are less due to malicious administrators than really a lack of communication. And So broadly, this includes things like inconsistency in how hours are expected or stipends are paid across the university. I've heard some particularly horrible stories of advisors in chemistry, for example. I know we have other strange things, like if you drop a class, if you're a supported graduate student and drop a class after the first couple of weeks, you often have to pay back the university for the class that you dropped in many departments, which is something I raised with the provost last semester, and he was very surprised to hear this. It's something that has been a big problem for or a big annoyance for students in our department for a long time, but it was just something that at a high level, people weren't really aware of. And so I think that lack of connection on just small issues is one of the biggest problems that can most directly be solved by graduate student government.
Thank you, Joshua. I would say that insofar as impacting graduate student workers, I think that similarly to what Joshua said, communication is a huge issue. And also, it's just that I think that a lot of grad students don't really know that GPSG is a resource they can reach out to. And I think just making sure that people know through whatever ways we can, be it like, traditional communication methods or flyers or event, that these resources are here and that the issues they have with being paid on time can be brought and then acted upon. That's really important. I know, for example, that in physics and astronomy, a very large proportion of the grad students support themselves over the summer through graduate teaching. And generally they are paid once at the end of their teaching term. So they basically go from the beginning of May to the end of August sometimes without a paycheck. And this is something that is within the power of the summer school to fix, but no one's really pushed them on it from like the administrative level. And it's issues like that where we can bring these inconsistencies to the attention of the administration if the students are telling us about it. Thank you.
Awesome. I see 2 hands on Zoom, and we'll start with Kendall.
Hi, Kendall Winter, Musicology. I am asking a question about the time commitment. I'm a 2-time former president pro tem, and I can tell you that this is a big role that is on top of all of your Senate responsibilities. It is stipended, so as sort of a acknowledgement of the additional time required for the job. So I'm interested in asking our nominees if they could tell us how they plan to make time for this role. Thanks.
Why don't we start with Joshua, because you've got the microphone.
Sure. Oops. Okay, there we go. So I think my plan really for this role is to try not to overcommit myself in it, like to carry out the core responsibilities well. But if you ask me, and encourage you all to ask me to help and be there for you when I have time, but be honest if you need help writing a bill, and help connect you with other people who have more time. Because as my last year, I'll be spending a lot of time writing my dissertation, and time is definitely not something I will honestly say I have in plenty at the moment. So is not something I have in plenty.
Thank you. And for my part, I would say that as a second-year graduate student, I'm in my particular program, we do our qualifying exams in the first year. And so I'm at a stage where I'm not quite at the dissertation writing stage, but core classwork is about finished. And so in my research commitments, my time is relatively flexible. Doing a lot of computational work means that I have a lot of time to check emails and work in various places as is appropriate. And in that sense, I can be flexible and be I think relatively reachable as a member of the government. Of course, you'd have to consider that what I have in time, Joshua has in experience. So do bear that in mind. Thank you.
I am enrolled in 10 credits and all of my classes are stacked on Tuesday and Thursday. So I can dedicate all of Monday, Wednesday, and Friday to being the president for Jim Bohr. And I also respond very quickly. If I don't answer, please send the search and rescue.
That was funny. Good responses. Okay, we've got another one on Zoom. Mitchell, go ahead.
Sorry, hold on one second. Hi, so my name's Mitchell Pinsky. I'm one of the senators for the city and regional planning community. Department. So I just had a quick question. As I say, also saying this as a Jewish student. So on college campuses across the United States, we have seen there's been a large increase of anti-Semitism. Even just this morning, someone actually went into the University of Pennsylvania Hillel and flipped over the table and said a bunch of anti-Semitic tropes. So what I'm curious is if there were an anti-Semitic incident on campus, how would you respond? And what steps will you take to make sure that Jewish students feel safe here on campus, especially in your role as President Pro Tem 4?
Go ahead.
So I guess I should read the news more because I was not aware of the incident. Thank you for bringing awareness to that. I would want to reach out to the people who were impacted to get their opinions on that because their input would be very important. And then something else that comes to mind is there's the EOC, Equal Opportunity and Compliance. I think that you could do an incident report and take some steps from there.
I also didn't know about this incident, and that sounds terrible. And obviously, the response of those of us who are in student government should be complete condemnation of that kind of action, that kind of hateful stuff. I think that as President Pro Tempore, I could leverage the connections that this office gives you with committee chairs, with the senior vice president, and with other resources on campus to try and take action. First of all, to extend resources to those who are affected, to work with members of the Jewish community on campus, and to author both resolutions and actual legislation that could affect how the campus deals with and prevents hateful attacks and violence on campus. I think our first priority should be ensuring that the campus environment is respectful, that it doesn't tolerate that, and that there's absolutely no ambiguity about it. Thank you.
There's not too much I can add. I think I've had the opportunity to spend some time with the Hillel group at UNC, and hearing some of their stories about the sorts of everyday tropes that they hear thrown at them is I'm the sort of person, it's surprising that people can be that base, and I think it's very saddening. What Lauren said, though, I think is really important, which is it's very easy to write a resolution that condemns something that we see, but that's not necessarily engaging with the group and understanding what do they want us to say, what needs to be said. Is something where we can respond in a more helpful way than just an empty, we're sorry, this is not acceptable. And so, yeah, that's about all I have to say.
Okay, I'm going to make the recommendation that we do one more question and then that's it, just for the sake of, I want to get you all out of here on time. These have been fantastic questions and we can have more conversations about these good questions in the future. So we will do one more question and then I'm going to recommend we move on to the vote.
Thank you. Nicholas Morrison Welch, toxicology. This is directed at Joshua, but if you are not elected, do you anticipate that you would still continue to offer yourself for mentorship and continuing on the initiatives that you're working with through your role as a senator with leadership, or do you think you would probably step back and do more of the core activities of your senatorship and focus on your studies?
Thank you, Senator Morrison Welsh. That's an excellent question. Actually leads into something I've been thinking about saying here for several questions now, which is I'm really impressed by some of the passion from these junior senators to take on the role. And I think I would probably be able to serve you all better as an advisor and to be there for you all, whichever of you may be elected, as I think I will withdraw myself from the running. And I would still like to continue to serve potentially as a committee chair, but I want to, because I'll be graduating next year, I think it probably is the best way to serve this body by having a year of transition where you can, either of you have the opportunity to learn the role and have someone to refer to who's done this for a while. Not just me. I know Kendall would be happy to provide guidance as well. She has been around longer than any other senator, I believe. I believe this is her 5th year in GPSG or 6th, very long time. So thank you for that question. And thank you all for hearing me for a little while. I'm sorry to waste your time answering these questions, but all the best to you all.
Awesome. Thanks, Joshua. So I think with that, we're going to move to go to a vote. So I'd ask that one senator from each unit, please go to Heal Life. And Luke, can we make the ballot active or launch it? I forget what the terminology is. Make it. Yes.
Oh, I just have a point of something. Is the other senator from the law school?
I can check. Is the other senator from the law school present? I guess I'll ask. I want to say that person might have emailed me and said they weren't available, but I'm not gonna lie, I'm just not 100% sure. I don't see anything on Zoom, so I guess I'll assume no. Is it working? Okay, hopefully, please, this is a good test run because we will be doing this a lot. So if anyone is having difficulty accessing Heal Life, please, okay, so at least one person told me that it's working. So if anyone's having trouble accessing the ballot right now, please raise your hand and I can come help you, or we can come help you. So we'll take a moment. I see a couple hands in the back. Okay, I'll come over.
Please don't vote for me. Thank you, Riley.
You mentioned a little bit of you had some experience undergraduate.
Actually, I don't know if it's like the same. No, I actually did undergrad which is like in Southwest Virginia. So not too far out, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you didn't have
I was more in the administration and club organizing side of things. You know, nothing on the skin.
Oh,
A lot of them were saying like,
Shit, okay, I was gonna, thank you.
Rodriguez. I actually wasn't aware of
All right, one last question of, does anyone else need help? Has anyone not completed voting? Anyone on Zoom having trouble, still not able to do it? No? Okay, I think that means that everybody has done it. So Luke, whenever you get a moment, please let me know what the results are on that.
all right.
Thanks everyone in the chat for letting me know that it's working. I guess you can just close it now and then we'll see the results. Oh, do you want to get a microphone so people can hear you? I don't have it pulled up, so you have to say what the answer is.
Check, check. Okay, thank you everyone for voting. So we have Lauren Rackley with 20 votes, Duncan McLean with 19 votes, and Joshua Bakita with 2 votes. So nobody secured a majority of voting folks, but Lauren Rackley has a plurality.
You think we have to have a majority or we have to do a runoff is my understanding with this. So.
Okay. Well, my apologies, everyone, for neglecting to remove Josh's name. I'll go ahead and make another ballot with just Lauren and Duncan, and we can run it back.
Why don't we, while we're doing that, we will move to the next section and then the next section of what we're going to do while we're getting, and then we will revote and get that taken care of.
Great.
But I do think there has to be a majority in order for that to count. So runoff time. Cool. Okay. Next. We're next going to talk about the selection of the standing committee positions. I did receive, about 20 self-nominations ahead of time. If you filled out that form after like 3 o'clock today, I didn't check it again. That's okay. We're also going to do floor nominations, but I do want to quickly go through all of the committees one more time in case anyone is not aware of the roles of each of the committees. But so at this point, what we're going to do, there's 5 people on each committee. Anyone who's still interested, you can say on the floor when we get to that committee. We'll start with finance, for example. You can raise your hand and say, I would like to self-nominate, state your name for this committee. We'll put you on there. You also will have the ability to adjust nominations. So I know that a few of you nominated yourselves for a couple of committees. So we can kind of, if we need to somewhat informally, shuffle people around, as we need to. And then upon close of nominations, once the nomination period is finished, if we have any committees that still have more than 5 people that have been nominated for that committee, we will then do a ballot vote. Similarly to the way we're doing it right now. And then for anyone, just for reference, anyone that is elected to a committee position, I will ask you to stay for just really quickly when we're done so we can exchange phone numbers and you all can figure out when you're going to meet. I will say, so because this is a weird meeting on a Thursday at the end of the month, which is very much not what it's normally supposed to be, my hope is that all of the committees can try to meet next week before our first Senate meeting of October, our second Senate meeting in October, but we can discuss that later. So just so you know. There's 6 standing committees. The Finance Committee, if you had fun hearing about the budget, that's probably the one for you. Considers budgetary matters, maintains financial aspects of GPSG code. Appropriations is going to be the committee that evaluates applications from student organizations and departments to make recommendations for them to be funded for events. Travel Awards is going to similarly evaluate applications for travel for like professional development and conferences. Rules and Judiciary is going to pretty much receive all bills and amendments for consideration. They potentially, depending on the legislation we passed today, would be interviewing presidential appointees. They maintain the code. If you are like the type of person that kind of likes code, the code, not like programming code, but like the code of the government, those types of things, or just kind of like the way that GPSG runs and is structured, this would be good for you. Oversight and accountability is going to be what it sounds like. You're going to be able to complete oversight of officers and agencies at GPSG, and also other places that we give funding to. We also potentially, that might be the committee that interviews presidential appointees as well, depending on a change of legislation today, depending on how that goes. And lastly, the State of Graduate and Professional Student Committee, or SOGAPS, is going to receive all resolutions, which are just like opinion bills, is a way to think about it, that will be considered by the Senate. They also support senators for the town halls that we do, and will coordinate public comment and public forums. Are there any questions about any of the committees? By chance? Nothing? Okay. Additionally, there's going to be a committee chair. The committee chair is going to be selected from within the committee. After you all are selected as your 5 members. The committee chairs do get a small stipend. You're in charge of basically the administrative part, scheduling, corresponding with the members, getting everyone together. The finance, R&J, and O&A committee chairs do have to go to joint governance council and are voting members there. Yeah, so this is the list that I received. There are quite a few people here who are double listed. And so kind of the way I would like to do this is first, I would like to ask if there's any self-nominations to add yourself to something. And then we also can do people who would like to adjust what they've nominated themselves for. The preferable goal would that be that we hit 5 on all of these so we don't have to vote, but that's okay if we don't. We can do a vote. It happened last year, so that's okay. Joshua Bakita, start us off.
Joshua Bakita, computer science. I'd like to self-nominate for finance.
Awesome. Thank you very much.
MBA. I work
Okay. All right. I saw over here next.
I'd like to remove myself from oversight and accountability and SOGAP.
Right here.
Duncan McLean, physics and astronomy. I'd like to remove myself from oversight and accountability and rules and judiciary.
Joshua, the PTP or PPT also wouldn't technically serve on these, right?
Only in
can
an
they?
ex officio manner on the oversight and accountability.
Okay, we'll have to do the other thing before we do the final on this, so keep that in mind for the both of you. Back there, yes.
As my MBA economics, I would like to nominate myself for SOGAS.
Can you spell your name for me?
HASH. Yeah. Last name AMI.
Perfect. Thank you. I see right here.
Winner, information and library science. I would like to remove myself from rules and judiciary and accountability.
Right, I saw back there. What was the second one? All right, here. Right, here.
Isaac Weiss, mathematics. I'd like to remove myself from rules and judiciary and oversight and accountability. Thank you.
Right here. Travel awards. Can you spell your name for me? I can't quite hear you. I'm sorry. Did I get that? Oh, got it. Thank you.
QUAN.
AN. Like that? Good. Yes, thank you. Yes, back there.
Matthew D'Onofrio, Department of Currency. I'd like to nominate myself for
Okay, will you spell your name as well for me? Oh, you gotta start over. You were too fast. Hi, is that it? Did I get it? Okay. Anyone else? Yes, up here. Okay. Oh, sorry. Over here. Okay. Can you spell your name for me? Your first name's Rob, right? Okay. Rob. Good. Anyone else in the room? Is there anyone on Zoom? I might not have seen if you were chatting. Is there anyone who would like to nominate themselves on Zoom? Nothing? Okay. Oh, yes, go ahead.
I'm just gonna make life difficult and I really apologize. Can I take myself off SOGAPs and put me on oversight and accountability?
Or wait, William, correct? That's not being difficult. That's all right. Anybody else? I'd like to casually recommend if someone was maybe potentially interested in moving from travel awards to one of the other committees, that would save us a little time. But if you really are into it, we don't have to. Okay. What were you going to say, Joshua?
I was going to share a point of information that all committees are public open meetings per state law, and so you can't attend any committee even if you're not on. You cannot vote necessarily, but you can attend and take part in business.
Yeah, just in case anyone in Zoom didn't hear, the comment was that all committee meetings are open, and so anyone is able to attend those meetings, whether or not they are a member. Alexis on Zoom, go ahead.
Hi, I see my name twice, so it can come off of travel, I guess, if that one is full.
All right.
Another point of information, most committee meetings end up being on Zoom. So if we have anyone here on Zoom who's maybe not even physically present in the state, wouldn't be able to attend evening meetings in person, typically they have been on Zoom.
That's true. Yes.
The hand from Alexis.
Oh, go ahead, Alexis. I wasn't sure if that was the same hand or a new hand.
It was the same hand.
Okay. All right. So why don't we, for the sake of making this a little easier, why don't we go ahead and do now our ballot for PPT, so we can get that taken care of, and then we will do, in the meantime, we'll set up and do our ballot for the committee positions as well. Yeah.
Travel awards ballot at the same time, so anyone who doesn't make it back.
That was going to be my recommendation. We do that. Yes.
Nominating someone else for a travel. Alice Wooler.
Okay.
Point of order.
Go ahead.
Hi, this is Kendall Winter, Musicology on Zoom, with a point of order. You still have names for multiple committee, or the same person's name on multiple committees. So we can't actually move to a ballot unless that is resolved.
Good catch.
Yeah, I see Lauren Rackley, who I believe is also one of our nominees for PPT, listed on both travel awards and oversight and accountability. And then there was another one that I noticed that I now cannot find. Caitlin, last name Young, I think, is listed both on appropriations and oversight and accountability. There might be others that I haven't noticed. But yeah, just to know that each senator can only appear on one ballot because they can only hold one appointment.
Good catch. Caitlin, are you here by chance? Okay. I think I saw Caitlin earlier, but they told me that they had to leave early. So, do I just pick? I don't know. That would be great. Why don't we start with the president pro temp, because that'll kind of help us know exactly where we are with that. So Luke, is that ready to launch again?
Yes.
Okay, another ballot is up on HeLife. Please fill that out, please.
called 2023 President Pro Tempore Runoff.
Luke, can you say that again? I'm sorry.
Yep, this is called 2023 President Pro Tempore Runoff.
Okay.
It's going to be behind a lot of like O blank or one blanks.
Awesome. I also, while we're doing that, I would like to call for a motion to amend the agenda to allow our student body president to be able to give his updates now because he has a prior engagement and I don't want you to miss out on that opportunity. So move, do I hear second? Okay, and with no objections, that will pass by unanimous consent. So while we're voting, Chris, do you want to give some updates? Also, let me get you a microphone before you start talking. Somewhere. Also, feel free to introduce yourself. I don't know if everyone in the room knows you, so.
That part's not important. I would just do whatever I get to. Yeah. It should just come up right away on your QLA page. Selection time. Okay. Sorry, give me just one moment. Is everyone having issues finding the ballot? Yeah. Sorry, let me troubleshoot this for just a moment. Yes, that's what I just did. Sorry, I just want to catch this motion to amend agenda. All good, all good. Okay. Yeah, so I've never created one here, but maybe properties. Yeah, so I marked it active. Maybe just
it might be the
time
time.
of day. So let's just make it 5:45. Yeah.
Yeah, that's. Okay, try it now. It should work. Thank you.
Can I just go through and like formally mark up the agenda?
I was just.
Right now. We can do it later.
Okay,
yeah,
I'm
go
sorry.
ahead.
Hey, everyone. So sorry. I have a 7:30 meeting, so I will have to step out in a few minutes here. I can stand up if that's easier so everyone can see me. Very good to see you all. My name is Christopher Everett. I'm the 2023 to 2024 student body president. So I'm so honored to be working alongside you all and Lauren as well. She's like my bestie. So fun fact. I hope you all had some time to rest this summer. I know things have been very busy for us all. I'm very, very sorry. These past few weeks have also been a lot. So I hope you all are taking care of yourselves. Just a few quick updates from me. As a branch, working a lot towards affirmative action, working to find new ways to understand the decision and partnering with the Affirmative Action Coalition on a summit with the student body presidents at Harvard College. So work on the details for that. So you'll get some more information soon. Also, I said this in JGC yesterday. I've been in like crisis comms mode for the past few weeks. So hoping to get some more policy work done soon, excuse me. But just gearing up to some more programming around the different observations, including Latinx Heritage Month this month, as well as a happy belated Rosh Hashanah to everyone who celebrates. Hope y'all enjoy the upcoming year as well. The executive branch is also working with UNC's comprehensive sickle cell programming for a basketball tournament this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 4 in the Ernie Williamson Athletic Center. It's going to be live music, prizes. You can give blood, donate, volunteer, all those things. So come out if you can. Also working a lot with the Eve Carson Memorial Scholarship to plan a week from November 12th to the 17th called Every Moment Counts Week, just honoring Eve's legacy on campus ahead of her birthday on November 19th. So that's will be a full week of programming that you all get some new information about that very, very soon. Also working on an executive order about that as well, just to honor her birthday and things going forward as well. Other than that, I think that was all I really had to say. If there are any questions, I'm happy to answer any. So I'm sorry to interrupt right now, but. No one. Okay, great.
Any questions on Zoom? Oh, for those asking, it's not the same link. Just go into Heal Life because it's a different ballot. Go into Heal Life, go to the graduate and professional student government page, and you should be able to see the ballot on that page. Is there a question up there?
Can you only select nutrition or something? Just select nutrition.
Okay.
It doesn't. That's okay. I'm not going
Can
to
someone go?
Yeah, absolutely. Sorry.
So I tried to.
Great. So I'm getting a lot of notices that only nutrition is available to select as a unit. So congratulations, you are now all senators from nutrition. You can select that and then move on to
No,
select president.
that's the runoff election, like the senator runoff election today. That's the wrong ballot.
Oh, okay.
If you see nutrition as a question, that's the wrong form. That's just the
Yeah.
runoff election that's happening today. for
Yeah.
Senate.
This ballot is called 2023. Just one moment. This ballot is called 2023 President Pro Tempore Runoff. That's the ballot you're looking for. Oh.
I could try that. Yeah. Does I can attempt to demonstrate how to get there if that's helpful. Okay, so if you go to your main Heal Life page, potentially, this is the wrong thing here. If it says GPSG secondary runoff election, that's the wrong, this is a senator election. What you want to do is probably the easiest thing is just, you could either search graduate and professional, and graduate and professional student government will come up right here and you just click on it. Or if you click right here, you can see graduate and professional student government right here and click on that. Once you do that, you scroll down a little bit. Here is where you will say it's election time and this is the correct form. Hopefully that's helpful. Can you raise your hand if you still haven't voted, just so I can get an idea? A couple of people, okay.
They're not eligible to vote.
Have you requested to join the organization?
Let me double check that.
Yeah. Are you Natalia? Or
No, I'm Margaret.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're seeing that you're not eligible, then that's because you have the other runoff, not this runoff. Make sure you go to the actual GPSG page, not just the home page.
Just look for GPSG or Graduate and Professional Student Government on here. Yeah, there you go. See if you're on it. Yeah, hit join. I'll approve your request. You should be good to go.
Can you just help me? I'm not able to locate it.
Yeah, absolutely. So are you a member of GPSG on Healing?
We can do yours
Okay, great.
first if you
So
need be.
you can go, if you scroll
We're,
up,
we're almost done with this, I think.
if you go to
and
the
then
main
we
page
can
for
just
Healing.
jump right to yours. So do you have 10 more minutes? Is that okay?
Great.
Okay.
Okay, so it's not listed there. So can you go to the
I
GPSG
realize
page for
we
Healing?
need to get it moving. Anybody else still having trouble? You're having trouble. Okay.
We're sorting it out.
Figuring it out,
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah. So yeah, GPSG will get you there also. Okay.
I hope Zoom people are getting it working. Yeah. I know we will get for the people that are here, so. I'm wondering if, where we at with it? We only have to vote if no one in travel awards will change. So that's true. So maybe I'll just see if someone's willing to move somewhere else. And then if not, I'll go motion to move the vote. Yeah. Okay, anyone else? Anyone else still having trouble? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask that we get the results, please. Also, did we hear about the text from Caitlin by chance? Okay. Yes. Yeah, we could do that. We could remove her from both and then just add her in next time. That's a good idea.
Check. Great. Okay. Thank you all for voting. So this time we do have a majority. So Lauren Rackley with 19 votes and Duncan McLean with 16 votes. So that's a majority for Lauren.
All right. Thank you all so much. Okay. Congratulations. Awesome. We'll talk later. I'm going to go ahead and remove you from here just to make. And then I guess I want to ask. Oh, yeah, go ahead. Oh, you can. That's fair. That's fair. You know, because, you know, sometimes people want to go crazy. That's good. Could I potentially ask if there's anyone on Travel Awards that would consider moving to any other committee to save us like 10 minutes? And nobody? Anybody in chat? Nothing? Okay.
Motion that we do voting for the membership of the committees asynchronously with the presentation.
Do I hear a second? Okay. Any objections?
Point of
Hearing none?
clarification, could you repeat the motion for those of us
Oh,
on
I sure
Zoom who weren't
can.
able to hear it well? Thank you.
I sure
Sorry,
can.
this is Kendall Winter Musicology.
No worries. The motion was asking if we can move the vote for the Travel Awards Committee membership to do it at the same time as our legislation vote so that we can move on with the meeting and do that at the end.
Thank you.
Do I hear any objections on Zoom from anyone? Nope. Okay. And with that, sure.
Are we gonna like hear from folks who are interested in the Travel Awards? I'm sorry.
No, we should, yes. For some reason, I was assuming we would also do that at the end.
I'm not objecting, just clarifying. So
That is a good point.
Whatever you all.
Technically, we do need to do that. Yeah, we have technically 20 minutes left and we have 8 pieces of legislation to see, so.
I'd like to amend my motion as I understand some of the nominees we're going to be seeing for legislation will need to be leaving soon enough. So I'd like to ask that we move both the vote and the discussion, the discussion of the nominees, the remainder of the formation of the committees to after legislation. That's my motion.
I hear a second. Any objections? Okay, hearing no objections, that motion passes. Okay, we'll come back to this. Great. This is the first meeting. That's just how this is sometimes. So, okay. So we are now going to go through legislation. If you want to find a physical version of each piece of legislation, it can be found on Canvas. If you go to, I'll show you how to do that actually. One of my many tabs. If you go into Canvas, you go to Files here. You go to 54th Senate. You go to the September meeting. And then you go down to legislation on the agenda. You can see the list of legislation here. Okay, we're going to start with the first one unless I have any motions to amend the order. You can't do that, so someone else would have to. Can I hear a motion to amend the agenda to see the, is it Moscoso? I don't actually know how to pronounce. To that, to your, to the confirmation of Moscoso nomination bill to the front of the order so that our nominee can be in attendance. Do I hear a second? Any objections? No objections? All right, the motion passes, and we will start with 54-004. Can I ask the author of the bill to please, which would be Lauren, to introduce the bill?
Hello, everyone. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Lauren Hawkinson. I am the president of the Graduate and Professional Student Government. In this bill, I am nominating Joe Moscoso as my Director of Employment Affairs. He will sit in the cabinet and fill certain committee seats across campus as part of that position. When I interviewed Joe for the position, he's really excited about being part of employment affairs and passionate about advocating for students who are employees on campus. So I encourage you to ask him any questions if you have them. He was also being favorably recommended by Summer Governance to fill this position.
Question over here.
He's from Physics and Astronomy.
Are there any other questions? Again, I should note, I do want to note that each of these nominees has gone through a interview process, and so and it has been referred positively by Summer Governance. So I just did want to note that too.
So as Director for Employment Affairs, you'll be responsible for representing GPSG in a lot of employment-related discussions on campus. How do you think we should appropriately respond to the tension between the thought that we have to work? We're essentially full-time students, but we're also, many of us are supported by assistantships, and those generally require, on paper, 20 hours a week. But say, I've heard of many labs in chemistry where you're required to be in the lab for greater than 40 hours a week, or the lab will fire you, even though you're only paid for 20. What do you think is a potential way to try and reconcile some of this tension, to look at this between the number of hours we're paid for and like hours that we have to put into being students, and what is the line between where expectations should be set? Thank you.
Can I get a microphone back there somehow? Yes, thank you.
Thanks, Luke. Try again.
Hello? Okay. Thank you, Joshua. So the question, I think, is how do we reconcile the differences in expectations of work time between being a student and an employee? And it's one that we see very often in physics and astronomy and chemistry, so it's very present. And what we do in our department is there's an introductory expectation of time management in a way with your advisor that we know on record. And that has been very successful in at least alleviating those difficulties that once you have the expectation set up, you will not go through that experience. I'm not too sure how this happens in other departments, but I'm willing to learn from the senators here about how this occurs. And in terms of resolving that, I think it is difficult, but maybe expectations is the best way before you ever join a lab, that you definitely discuss and have this on record. All right, that's it. Thank you.
I may have been confused, but I thought it was more towards what is being paid for on paper versus the expectation students go above and beyond what they're contractually agreed to do. So it's a little bit different than expectations, because those are signed upon when you agree to that research position. So how would you enforce or move to get enforcement of ensuring that students are only doing what they are expected to do or paid to do versus the general, oh, we agree upon this? Because it's pushing students and subtracting from the other hours that they could use towards their research or personal life.
What was your name?
Senator Morrison Welch.
Okay. Thank you for the clarification. I think that's best to be gone through the Office of Human Resources. And I think a part of my role is to communicate with them these expectations. So I would probably start there. I don't have a direct answer right now. Thank you and sorry.
Awesome, thank you. Not seeing any other questions. Can I call for a motion to? There it is. Do I hear a second?
I can read them.
Any objections? Just to clarify, what that meant was that we're motioning to end discussion about this bill, and then we're going to move on to the next one, just to clarify. So are there any objections? Nothing? All right, thank you so much. We will vote on that at the end of the meeting. Next up, we are going to go to Bill 54-001. An act to approve the Director of Academic Affairs for the 2023-2024 academic year. Lauren, can you please introduce this bill as well?
Sure. Hello again. This bill is written to approve Daliana Alfonseca as my Director of Academic Affairs. She'll sit in my cabinet as well. I met Daliana when we both served on the Student Advisory Committee to the Dean of College of Arts and Sciences, and I was blown away by her advocacy and her ability to speak truth to power, especially in those meetings, and not back down from what she believes in. And I think that she's going to be a really powerful force for graduate students to stand up for us in the realm of our academics.
Awesome. Do I have any, Daliana, are you here in the Zoom meeting?
I am Zooming. I am
Awesome.
Zooming.
We're
So
happy to
I'm
have you
If
here.
anyone has any questions.
Are there any questions from Zoom or on the floor? Yeah, Joshua, go ahead.
Hello, Daliana. Thank you for being here. What do you think are your top 2 priorities from an academic perspective to advocate for as you assume this role in a permanent capacity?
Thank you for that question. So primarily, one of my primary goals is to create a way for departments to have interdisciplinary audits so that different departments can learn to work with each other and be more cohesive and provide information to one another instead of siloing and hoarding knowledge from one another. And then my second project would actually be something that came up yesterday that I was unaware of, and now I'm slowly growing really passionate about. I spent most of my day today looking into it. So I recently found out that not everyone has as much access to faculty as my department does. I'm in the English and Comparative Literature department. We get involved. We are called to participate in all the hiring processes. We get the agendas, we get all the notes from the meetings. And I recently found out that not every department has that luxury. So I've actually pivoted a little bit and started to add that to my agenda so that I can try and see how students can be more involved in the people that are educating them, more involved in the process of who gets to come on board, but also more involved in the process of, being a part of their academic journey. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, wait for the microphone, please. Thank you.
Hi, Nick Malosi, the Health Policy and Management. So I've had the privilege of working with Daliana, and I'd recommend her. We interviewed her during summer governments. And with that, I would say I'd motion the question.
All right. I hear a second. Any objections? Seeing none. All right. The motion to move the question passes, and we will move on to the next piece of legislation. Good time, everybody. Thank you, Daliana, for being here. We really appreciate it. Okay, next we'll move on to 54-002, which is an act to appoint Sage Viles to the Student Supreme Court. Lauren, once again, can you introduce this? Oh, there's a question. Go ahead. I'm sorry. All right.
I move we end discussion on the nominations and vote on these as a package deal.
All right. Are there any objections? All right. Now we will vote. Unless sometimes in this situation, occasionally the person making the motion might choose to recall their motion, but you don't have to do that. I just wanted you to know that's an option. But if not, that's fine.
I just provide some reasoning.
Just in case. But so now what we'll do is we'll vote. And so we're going to do a voice vote. And so what that motion is going to be, the ayes are going to motion yes to take all of the nomination bills as a package deal and skip discussion on them and then just vote at the end. All of the no's will mean that you do not wish to do that and wish to consider each bill individually. So first, can I hear the ayes?
Ayes.
And then can I hear the no's?
Nay.
Okay, I think the no's have it with that one. So the motion does fail. All right.
Katie,
Yes.
Can you say anything else? Like any discussion?
Generally, no, I don't think so, unless I'm wrong. But I think that type of motion would not have discussion related to it. Unless someone wants to correct me.
Yeah.
But I believe that there is no debate on that type of motion. So yeah, so
All right, so this bill is to approve Sage as one of our graduate student representatives to the Student Supreme Court. When I spoke with Sage, I was really impressed with their background. I think a lot of times we think about Supreme Court justices or honor court representatives as having a legal background, but Sage has a background in linguistics, which was really interesting to me, and her ability to interpret language really stood out and made her a strong candidate for this.
awesome, thank you. Are there any questions for Sage, your candidate? All right, a motion has been made to end discussion. Yes, so are there any objections on Zoom or in person? All right, oh, there is an objection, yes. Oh, go ahead, what were you gonna say? Go ahead. Yes.
So what would have been the difference of like any nomination?
So the previous motion was to end all discussion on all of the nomination bills at the same time. But there was an objection, and after a vote, it was determined that members of the body did not want to end all of the nomination discussion bills at the same time. They want the opportunity to be able to ask questions for each one. And so with that type of motion, there's not really room to like discuss that. It's just, we just do it or we don't. And so since that motion did not pass, then we move to, there's this last two bills, we're now going through each one individually, introducing it, discussing it, and then at the end, we will vote on them. So does that make sense? Since the motion didn't pass based off of voice votes, that's the way that we're going to do it. That's the way that the body calls for it. So, but yes, thank you for asking for clarification. So did we get a second on that motion? We did. I didn't hear any objections. Okay, so the motion to move the question and discussion on that bill passes by unanimous consent. Thank you. Thanks, Sage, for being here. Really appreciate it. We next will consider our last of our nomination bills, which is 54-003, which is an act to appoint Grant Ignatz to the chair of the Graduate Student Honor Court. Lauren, can I have you introduce this bill, please?
Yes, so Grant is being nominated to chair the Graduate Honor Court. This is separate from the Undergraduate Honor Court. Grant's name was passed along to me by the Honor Court themselves, so they went through a nomination and interview process. I spoke to Grant, and then he was again interviewed by our summer governance, who are favorably recommending Grant as the Honor Court chair for the graduate side.
Awesome. Grant, are you here by chance, or are you on Zoom? Okay, I don't think Grant is here. We can still discuss, but just so you know, there's not really a question. To
Super
be asked.
quick question.
Yeah, go ahead.
What program is Grant in? Our department. Oh, okay.
Yeah, the answer was
If I'm not
supposedly
mistaken.
law, potentially.
Yeah.
There's a question here. Just wait for the microphone so the people on Zoom can hear.
When you interviewed Grant, what did he, say his priorities for the honor court were, and how seriously does he take charges of academic dishonesty? Because I know we've had allegations that I think were not seriously addressed in some of the units.
So I think Grant's main points were having no bias and taking each case objectively as they came in. Does that answer your question?
Great. Any other questions? I'd like to call for a motion to move the question. Right, do I hear a second? Any objections? None? Okay, the motion to move the question passes with unanimous consent. Great, so let's move on to 54-005, which is the bill to improve graduate student communication through GPSG Senator Town Halls. And can I have Senator Kendall Winter please introduce this bill?
Hi, Kendall Winter, Musicology here. So this bill is the one to increase what we're calling town halls, but I think that language might be going away perhaps. This is a requirement to just have an official way to dedicated space to communicate with your constituents every year. Right now, it's once per legislative session, but the bill proposes to make it once per academic semester. There are several reasons to do this. The main purpose of these events is, as I said, to provide a bidirectional opportunity for communications so that you as a senator can let your constituents know all about what's going on in the GPSG. You don't have to be an expert in the GPSG. It's totally fine to just say, like, I go to these meetings once a month. Here's some of the things that happen. There are some committees, and oh yeah, there's funding you can apply for, and here's where you do it. And then the other side of that is that it's a space for your constituents to ask you questions, to voice their concerns, their questions, and for you to bring those back to this space so that we can all work on them together. For example, I believe there was just a question regarding the honor court chair about academic dishonesty allegations. If you feel that that is something that's a problem within your department, we in the Senate don't necessarily know unless you, the senator, hear that from your constituents and bring that back to us. And then we can maybe delegate a task force or give that to a committee to work on so that we can improve the lives of graduate and professional students through these meetings. So that's one reason, that it's communications. The other reasons have to do with some findings that we had from quantitative and qualitative studies that were done in academic year 2020/2021, which found that there's a real need for this type of communication because lots of people at that time reported that they didn't really know what was they didn't know that GPSG existed, what it does, what it's able to do, how to get involved. And like I said, those opportunities to get funding for travel, for emergency funding, to be connected to other students through our programming. The other finding that we had was that many senators rightfully kind of feel anxious about this responsibility to host an event. So they tend to do it toward the end of the semester. I would say the better part of 85% of these events are held in March every year. If you're in a 1-year or a 2-year master's program or professional degree, frankly, that's just too late for the information to be of any use to the constituents. So by requiring that one of these events happens in the fall, at least starts those conversations earlier. I'll just do a quick plug here. If this does sound like a really big job for one senator, it's a great reason to exercise your unit's right to have a co-senator so that you both can work on planning this together. And then finally, I'll just highlight these bullet pointed lists that are now on your screen of measures that we've put in place, and I say we, meaning I have helped to put a lot of these measures in place over the last few years, leading up to fulfilling this recommendation that we do 2 of these events per year. We have made the process of getting funding for these events easier. We have increased the amount of funding that's available to support these events. We have decreased the requirements for advance notification, for being like evaluated on the quality of minutes and attendance sheets and things like that. We are backing away from our presentational style event as connoted by the term town hall. We're kind of phasing that language out and that presentational model out and really pushing this like social centric space just to sort of bring everybody together. That's just some of the things that you see on the screen that we've done. And then there are also some planned additional improvements that should make this, that are all aimed at reducing the burden. That includes having a planning workshop or more than one, so that anyone who feels like they don't know where to begin with planning their event can come and get ideas from people like me or other senators who've done this before and who've found ways to make it successful. It was mentioned when our VP for Finance did his budget presentation, but we've got this new purchasing card option, which will reduce the financial burden of holding an event on senators by just allowing you to use basically the GPSG credit card, if you will, to buy the things that you've been permitted to purchase for your event. And then we've also got a whole slew of materials to help support you. So we have checklists, we have agendas that you can sort of use as a template. We have templates for minutes. We have real live examples of minutes to show you different styles of how to take those notes. Yeah, so the idea is that this bill benefits the constituents by giving them early and frequent access to what's going on in the GPSG. And it benefits the GPSG because it allows us to act on the information that we learn from constituents via their senators who hold these events. As you'll see, in order to make these changes, we are going to have to play with our code a little bit. What you'll see is struck language crossed out, and blue language is the newly inserted text. And I want to draw your attention to the bigger sections down at the bottom, which essentially do away with what we call dead code. That's what we call it when we've got a law on the books that we're no longer enforcing and no longer matches our actual practice. So subsections 1, 2, and 3 here are, as I said, getting rid of that dead code and writing in new policy that reflects the way we actually do things. And what I hope you'll see when you compare the struck language to the newly inserted blue text is that this is all moving in the direction of being more lenient, more flexible, more supportive for senators. And I am happy to move into discussion and take your questions.
Awesome. Thank you, Kendall. We'll now move into discussion and we will start. Let's get a microphone. Lauren, are you good? Sorry. Up here, just wait for the microphone and then you're good to go.
Hello. Okay, thank you. My name is Kyle Kornman. I'm representing the unit of classics. My question is just, is there currently funding allocated already sufficient for 2 of these a year? And if so, why, I suppose, make it a requirement to hold 2? Is there anything keeping us currently from simply holding 2 of our own volition? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. As I heard it, that's a 2-part question, so I'll try to address both in order. The first part concerning budget. We currently, I believe, have a $6,000 budget for town halls. I do not believe that that will be sufficient to hold 2 events per year. But there is nothing stopping us as a Senate to, through the Finance Committee, allocate more funds from our reserves for the purpose of supporting more
line item. And just to give you guys a little philosophical background on why this bill does not present a financial package along with it to do that work, it's that simply if we are voting on one issue, do we increase it or not? That makes this decision a little bit easier than some senators who might feel, I do want to increase the number of town halls, but having fiscally conservative views, I don't want to double the line item for this. So it just makes the voting a little bit easier to do this in a piecemeal fashion. Now, I will say this, the $6,000 budget that we currently have for town halls will be more than sufficient to support any and all events that will be planned for the fall semester if we pass this bill, which means that we are not going to run out of money while we work through the finance committee to get a new budget proposal and reserve allocation to the floor. So we could probably accomplish that by maybe November, which would give us plenty of time to be planning money for the spring as well. And I will say I fully support having more money available. And you can do things like buy refreshments, you can purchase craft supplies. People have used the money before to do like a venue rental if they want to hold their event at like a bowling alley or something, and people can go bowling during or after the event. Okay, the second part of the question was, I believe, why ask people to do 2 if nothing prevents them from doing 2? Is that correct?
Yes.
Okay, thanks. Nothing prevents people from doing 2. I'll tell you this, I'm a dedicated senator. I've been in this is my 6th year in the Senate. I've never hosted 2 because I'm a busy person, but if I was required to, I would, because I care about my constituents that much. Now, I communicate with my constituents via email all the time. So I don't mean to back myself into a corner here and say like, yeah, this is a really big ask. It's not a really big ask, especially because once you get the formula under your belt for how to book a room, how to make a purchase using the P card, it's pretty easy to plan one of these events and get it rolling. But there is a little bit of a learning curve, which is why we have all of these supports in place with the planned workshops, with the set of templates and examples and things for senators to consult, checklists, all of that. But the reason we're asking for 2 and designating them, one in fall and one in spring, is again so that we can really be promoting the engagement and information going to our constituents who belong to those 1-year, 2-year programs, where if they're not getting information until March of their first year, they might already be facing graduation. And, running into your 2nd year, you might, if you're writing a thesis, might not have time to take advantage of some of the opportunities that are available to you.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, I'm gonna try to go in order of the hands that I saw. You have to wait in order, sorry. Joshua, I saw you first.
It depends on the motion.
Could you repeat the motion? I'm sorry.
The motion was to table the bill, correct? The motion is to table all of the rest of the bills on the agenda until the next meeting. Do I have a second? I have a second. Do I have objections? She can't object. Sorry. Sure. That is true, yes. So technically tabling a piece of legislation would mean that we just move it to the end of the meeting. We can
Postpone consideration.
postpone consideration. So that, okay, hold on. So you'd like to amend your motion to postpone consideration of the rest of the bills until the end of, or until the next meeting? Second, is there an objection?
Can I ask a question? A point of information, I suppose it would be?
You can ask a point of information, yes.
What bills, can we go through the enumeration? What bills are on the agenda
We sure
tonight?
can. The last bills are the improved town hall bill, the standing committee duty reassignment bill, the travel awards chair bill, and a bill that technically is not on the agenda, but I was hoping to get a motion to add it to the agenda, which is the special election bill. But it's
Yeah.
not on the agenda, I will say, so.
Okay, so to be clear then, the motion on the table would be only to postpone consideration of bills 54005 to 54007.
Correct.
Okay.
Because 54008 is not technically on the agenda right now.
Thank you. I wasn't sure if we amended the agenda to include it
We
at
did
the
not do
beginning of
that.
the meeting. Okay.
No.
Thank you.
So with that point of clarification, do I have an objection? I have an objection. Does this one have discussion? I'm not sure. I think so with this one. I
So
think,
Fernando Quijano from PhD in Business, I would just object to removing standing committee's duty reassignment bill because I feel that would affect what responsibilities they will have for next session. So I think we should still at least consider that one, even if the other ones are moved to the next session. So I would ask that the person that put in the motion to maybe change it to not include that bill and that we do look at that bill.
okay, if you would like, the person who made the motion is able to amend, or you can choose not to amend and we'll vote.
I will amend to only postpone 005 and 007.
Okay, so the motion is now to only postpone 005 and 007 to the next Senate meeting. Do I have a second? Do I have an objection? Okay, I have an objection. You can, I guess, speak on it if you'd like to.
We've already been talking about the improved town hall bill. I don't see a point in halting our discussion now. I feel like we might as well just get out of the way. I would hope we're at least 50% done with that discussion. So I don't see a point in tabling that till the next session unless the bill is going to end up being sent back to Finance Committee if we decide to make a thing with the budget line item before passing the bill.
Sure.
And just a point of clarification on that, we can draft a completely separate bill to do finance, which I don't object to. I do think though that appending a budget onto this one bill is perhaps complicated for that reason that I presented before, which is that senators might not agree on the amount of the allocation. And I would hate to have that be a reason for abstentions or no votes on what is essentially a separate issue of, do we ask senators to do this thing once a year or twice a year? Respectfully, but.
All right. Joshua, do you have a comment on the current motion? Okay, go ahead.
For the sake of time, I think everyone's made good points. I would actually like to amend. Can we amend the motion to allow for 5 minutes of consideration for this one? If we do not complete consideration within 5 minutes, it will be postponed, and then allow for 10 minutes of consideration for our final bill, up to 10 minutes of consideration with the final bill being the committee duty reassignment, and then we entirely postpone the other one.
Is that amendment to your motion friendly? Okay, so we will now.
I withdraw the amendment.
Okay, the amendment has been withdrawn. Luke, do you have a question? I am not sure. That is a good question. I would have to go off of Zoom.
Could you repeat the question?
The question was whether or not we still have quorum.
Yeah.
I would say I'm unwilling at this time to just like, we need to take attendance? Okay, I think that's all we need then, because this is not considered we have the lower quorum, it's not 37, it's 21, I think is the number, so. Yes, do you have a comment related to the motion? Yeah.
Counting individuals, or are you counting RUs?
It is based off of RUs. I think based off of my understanding, we should still be good. I can count if the body wants me to. I absolutely will. But I just would like to say, I think we're good still.
The reason being that if we, excuse me, I spoke out of turn.
Yeah, over here. Sure. Here, just so they can hear, let's get the microphone.
So for the travel awards chair bill, if we don't pass that, does that mean since we're meeting for committee the first time between this meeting and the next meeting, the travel awards chair will be decided according to the rules as it is now and not? Okay.
Not according to the rules as it is in the bill. That's true. All right, seeing no other discussion, I would like to call a vote on the motion of whether or not we will postpone the, did we amend it to not include 006 or did you not make, you did? Okay, so we were gonna vote on the motion of whether or not to table 54-005 and 54-007 to the next Senate meeting on October 3rd. I want to say, so the way that this will be, all of the ayes are saying yes for postponing and all of the noes are for no postponing. Do you have a comment?
I thought it was changed to 5 more minutes.
No, that didn't.
No, okay,
That wasn't
sorry.
accepted. You're good. Okay, so does everyone understand what yes and no means? I happily will do that. So yes means yes, we're going to postpone 005 and 007. No means we will not postpone 005 and 007. All those in favor of postponing, please say aye.
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 And all of those against say no. Okay, the ayes have it. So we will now postpone 54-005 and 54-007 to the October Senate meeting. We will now move on to considering 54-006. The bill to reassign standing committee duties to better distribute responsibilities evenly. Kendall, can you introduce this bill, please?
Yeah, hi. Still me, still Kendall, still from musicology. This is a bill that proposes to move the responsibility to interview presidential nominees move that from the Rules and Judiciary Committee and reassign it to the Oversight and Accountability Committee. If you read the bill, there are a few reasons for doing this. But to summarize, it is that everything else that the Rules and Judiciary Committee does has to do with documents and policy. And then they have this responsibility to review nominees that the president brings for their interviews, so that when you see those votes that say ayes and nays, whether to confirm a person to an office, currently those are going through the Rules and Judiciary Committee, which, as I said, in every other responsibility is writing documents. The O&A Committee used to have this responsibility to interview presidential nominees, and it was taken away. I shouldn't say taken away. It was reassigned a few years ago, again, during that 2020, 2021 year, which was kind of tumultuous. And it just seems kind of incongruous that the committees whose job it is to conduct oversight on our officers would not have a role in the appointment of those officers, right? By giving them this role in the interview that, I've been talking about an interview. What that means is the committee, when the president makes a nominee, the committee gets a copy of all of that applicant's materials. So that would be any cover letter that they had to write as part of their application, any CV they had to provide or resume. And I don't know that we do this anymore, but there might still be some offices where there's like a short essay prompt that the nominees are responding to. So the committee that conducts these interviews gets all of that material and a memo from the president saying why, out of all the applicants, they've selected this one individual for the job. And then the committee gets to conduct an in-person Q&A, asking them the types of questions that we asked our nominees tonight. And it just seems like giving the O&A committee that opportunity to have that role in the confirmation process would then set them up for success later, should any oversight be necessary. And it might make them aware of any red flags that they might want to follow up on as they're planning their oversight docket. So that's the summary of the justification of the bill. I don't know, are we doing time for questions, Katie? I don't believe we affected that in our recent
The
motion.
motion, it did not change in the motion, no.
Okay.
So oh, go ahead.
I was just going to say, so as you see, this proposal requires amending our code. Again, the struck language is just taking that responsibility from one committee and planting it verbatim under the purview of oversight and accountability. And I'll take any questions if there are any.
Awesome. I saw here first.
Isaac Weiss, mathematics. I motion to limit debate to 5 minutes.
Oh, I'll second that. Can I second that?
Objections? None? Oh, great. So discussion is now limited to 5 minutes. I wasn't timing it up to this point, so I don't know how many minutes it's been. Is it so? All right. I saw Senator Bakita next.
Yeah, so this is an experiment we ran for about a year. I opposed the original bill to change this responsibilities. I think this was an experiment that didn't work well. O&A thought this was bad, that this is what we should do. We need to move things back. O&A didn't have much they could do last year because they didn't have this responsibility. And in light of I have yet to hear anyone who served on either of these committees oppose this in any way. I would like to just motion the question.
All right.
I'll second that motion.
All right. Are there any objections? All right. It's getting late. By unanimous consent, the motion to move the question now passes. So that is the end of 54-006.
I'll do it. Motion to add 54-008 multi-unit fall special election to the agenda on the grounds that it is a time-sensitive issue.
Do I hear a second? Do I have any objections? Okay, hearing none, we will now add 54-008 to the agenda. Kendall, are you okay introducing this, or do you want me to?
Yeah, I'm good. You've done a great job tonight. You take it easy. Okay.
I did just hear a motion to the question, to move the question. I have a second. Are there any objections? It was to the motion to move the question, meaning we just go ahead and end discussion and we'll just vote on this bill without talking about it.
Yeah. Does everyone understand what the bill is?
I have an objection. Okay, so we will now vote all in favor of moving the question, meaning that all in favor of just not discussing this bill at all is a yes. If you are, if you do not want to just completely end discussion, it'll be no. So can I hear the ayes?
Aye.
Point of noes? Nays? Okay, the ayes have it.
Oh, can I just make a clarifying point of clarification point of information, people?
Sure.
Because this bill has been added to the agenda, we are still going to be voting on it, even though we have just motioned to move the question. So, okay, just so everyone understands that.
For people that want to know what this is about.
Wait, can you do that?
Fernando Quijano from PhD in business. So point of information, real quick, for those that don't know what this is about, there's a lot of, because of the events over the last few weeks and months, there were some elections where no votes were cast. So this is pretty much to hold some of those elections for those units that don't have representatives again, if I am not correct. So that's it in short. So probably something we want to say yes to, I would put that, but yeah, anyway.
All right, so that is now going to be the end of consideration of legislation. Sorry, I cannot see my own tabs. All right, so we now, okay, so now what we have to do is we have previously tabled the issue of nominating for committees. And so we do need to come back to that now. I did hear that the senator wanted to be removed from this committee. So now the people who were on the travel awards committee will now have the opportunity. Oh, go ahead. Yes. Yeah, so we only, because this was an emergency meeting technically, because of the way that we rescheduled it, we only had to have quorum of 50% of units that were elected, which is a very low number. And so I still think we're good based off of those who are still in. Again, I can count if you want me to do a count, but I think it would be faster if we just went ahead and went instead of me counting. Yeah. Did I see a motion, a question over here?
The travel committee nominees are going to take that motion with less than 1 minute for each person.
Can you be exact with that? Like at like a 1 minute or less? All right. Do I hear a second? Okay, I hear a second. Any objections? No objections. All right. So that passes on unanimous consent, which now means that each member who's up for consideration for travel awards will have 1 minute to speak on your qualifications and why you want to be on travel awards, and I will time you. So we're going to go in order. Yes, did I have another motion?
Go.
Oh, you were just offering to go first. All right, I'll just go in order that's on here. Excuse me, is Vinod here in the back? All right, I'm gonna give you 1 minute. Once you get the microphone, introduce yourself, say why you want to be on the committee. Ready, set, go.
Yeah, thank you very much. So this is my personal interest. I'm Vinod from Biomedical and Health Informatics program. So this is my personal interest to be in this community because I joined UNC in summer and faced a lot of difficulties regarding this part. So I can sense the urgency regarding this. So I think I might be a good fit for this travel awards because I tried multiple times and I faced a lot of difficulties and I didn't get answer for this till now. So I'm trying to dig more deeper into it, like how we can solve this problem. This is not a one person problem. I think this is the problem with a lot of students who want to travel for their conferences and wanted to be in a safe environment while they are traveling to different places, maybe in different cities or something like that. Yeah, thank you.
Awesome, thank you. That was impressively exactly 1 minute. I'm very impressed. Next up is Joshua Clemson. Are you here? Here, wait, let's wait until you get the microphone so they can hear you.
Bennett Button with Public Policy here. Joshua Clemson would like to remove his name. He's gone. Thank you.
Okay. Well, that saves us 5 minutes. Well, okay, if Joshua Clemson wants to remove his name, I think that means that we now have less than 5 in every one and we don't have to vote. Cool. So we can stop what we were just doing and don't have to do those. So I will say, so these are now the members for each of the standing committees. Write that down if your name's up there. I also will email all of you. I would ask that all of these people, if you're still here, please stay after so we can get connected. But I know some people may be gone and that's okay. We will be having, basically what you guys need to do is get connected, figure out when you're going to meet. I'll email all of you this information, so don't worry about it. We'll just keep going. Okay, and lastly, the last thing we need to do is vote on the legislation. So we should have a ballot. Remember, voting is required in order for you to count as having attended this meeting. Only one senator per unit can vote. You cannot have multiple senators per unit, just one, same way that we've been doing it. I see a question over there. Yes.
Really quick, my apologies. I misspoke. Grant, our honor court chair nominee, is in dentistry. I knew he was in a professional school, not law, dentistry.
Okay, if that changes anyone's minds.
Changes your vote.
Luke, are you good? So you should remove or even if you don't, it's fine. Just leave it and then it won't count. We'll just ignore the votes. So. Cool. All right, wait, special elections for
The 008.
Oh, great. Yes, I forgot that's the name of that. Okay, so everyone please do that. Normally while we're voting, we go through some updates and announcements. So I'm gonna do that now. First update is gonna be from GPSG President Laura and I can't say your name anymore apparently.
Hi, I'm Lauren. Really quick, if we are currently filling positions for external appointments. So these are seats on various campus committees that graduate students fill. Really important if we want our voices heard across campus. So if you or one of your constituents is interested in serving on a committee on campus, please put your name in. Second, I am looking for students who are in the College of Arts and Sciences who are interested in serving on the advisory committee to the Dean of the College of Arts and Sciences. So if you are interested in serving on that committee and you're in the College of Arts and Sciences, please send me an email and then I'll pass your name along to our governmental affairs chair, who is, or vice president of governmental affairs, who chairs that committee.
And just to note, both of those positions are open to not just senators, right? Open
Right,
to anybody.
open to anybody.
Yep, they are on there. It was just faster for us to leave them. The vote doesn't count.
And then lastly, I've gotten a lot of communication from graduate students regarding the response to the events on August 28th, and then most recently last Wednesday, and how graduate students are being supported. While what I've heard is that while we are grateful to the university for providing additional mental health resources, that's just the beginning, and that's just the tip of the iceberg. And what really needs to happen is a deeper dive into why graduate students need these additional mental health resources. And I think we touched on it a little bit earlier in terms of appropriate mentorship and appropriate hours and holding PIs accountable for the amount of work that they're expecting their students to do. So I think I just wanted to put that out there and tell you that we are working on that. I've had really encouraging conversations with Dean Beth Mayer Davis of the Graduate School, Amy Johnson in Student Affairs. And I actually have a meeting on the books with Kevin Guskowitz, Chancellor Kevin Guskowitz on October 10th. So please keep making your voices heard in that area. I know it may seem that there's no movement happening, but administrators are listening to us. And change is just very slow to occur. But the more that they hear from us, the faster we can make that happen. So I just want to reassure all of you that we are taking steps in that right direction. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Lauren. Are there any questions for Lauren on anything that was said? Was there a Zoom person that was asking a question and I missed it? No. Okay. I made that up then. We already heard from Chris Everett. The next update would be from Summer Governance Chair Alice Woolard, who cannot be with us today. So we asked Joshua Bakita, who was the president pro temp for Summer Governance, to speak on updates on summer governance.
Sure, I'll keep this quick. So summer governance basically makes sure that we continue operating over the summer because people are still applying for funding for travel awards over the summer, and those things are still supposed to be reviewed and moved forward, as well as there were a number of other aspects, number of other things like with these issues that have occurred on campus recently, making sure we're still effectively advocating to administrators. So we've been doing that. Unfortunately, you did not see allocations or travel summer. So over the summer, we review the applications, but they don't get approved, and they can only be approved by the full Senate. We don't have the ability to do final approval. You will be seeing those bills at the October meeting. So in about a little over a week from now, a week and a half from now, they were not able to be at this meeting as we were unable to come to a consensus about exactly how much of the year's budget we wanted to spend over the summer. But we did review all those applications. And so for the travel, anyone who's going to be on travel or appropriations, we have a set of candidates that we already believe are very qualified to receive these awards, but we have not yet recommended to them to the Senate for full approval. That will come to you, and you will have to put forward that in your committee. Otherwise, summer governments sort of just went through the ordinary business, nothing too exciting. And for the sensitivity of time, I will just say you're welcome to come talk to me or Alice when she's here at future meetings about the work of summer governance. And I can take maybe one or two questions right now. Otherwise, I'll refrain from further updates.
Any questions?
Great, thank you.
I don't think I have any cabinet. Abigna, do you want to say anything? Can I ask for you to have a microphone?
Thanks, Josh.
Thank you, Joshua. Hi, everybody. My name is Abigna. I serve as the Chief of Staff and I oversee the cabinet of the Executive Board. It's very nice to meet all of you. Updates from cabinet. So in the agenda, as well as in the slides, I believe there is a link to a report that we will aim to share with you every single month when you have your Senate meeting. On this document will be the contact information for all of the cabinet and executive officers if you ever need to get in touch with any of us one-on-one, as well as any updates that those officers have for you based on what they've been working on project-wise, event-wise, initiative-wise that month and what they're hoping to accomplish in the coming months. So all of that information that's most pertinent to senators will be included in that document, as well as any specific messages to senators, like please share this with your constituents, or please volunteer for this event coming up. Things like that, we will also make sure to include in that document so that it is available to you, as well as ways to get in touch with us. So please look forward to that. And I will just echo what Lauren said before, that we are still taking applications for external appointments to serve on committees across campus and work with faculty and administrators. And all of that information is also on the slides. So please do apply if you are interested in any of those pathways. So that's it. Thank you.
Awesome. My computer just died, which is really great. So I'm just going to remember all of the announcements that I wrote on the slides. The slides are in Canvas for everyone. So I think that should be all the updates. So our next meeting is going to be held on October 3rd, which is in a week and a half at 5:30. It is not going to be in this room. It will not be in this room. Don't come here. It will not be in this room. It's going to be in Care Hall, which is in the Gillings School. It's going to be in, is it 2001, I think is the room number. It's where we, yes, there's a parking garage right next to it. And so don't come here. That's very important. I have a couple more announcements I would like to give, please. Thank you. So in addition, I will be in contact with all of you that are going to be on committees. We'll talk about that later. If you are not able to access HeLife or Slack, please, please, please tell me. Or sorry, HeLife or Canvas, please tell me. Additionally, if you have not signed up for UNC Connect, go, I had a QR code, but my computer's dead, of course. So go on to the GPSG website, look up UNC Connect and join it. There is a senator chat where everyone has been texting all during the meeting. And so I highly recommend it. I will be manually adding you all to the Senate channel there. I do want to mention a couple of the external appointments. One of them is the Student Safety Committee. I know that's something a lot of you mentioned potentially being interested in, is looking for quite a few members. So if you're interested in working on campus safety, that's a committee that works with like student police and things like that. Highly recommend that one. I also was asked to tell you all that the Student Advisory Committee to the Chancellor is also looking, it's called the Student Advisory Committee to the Chancellor. That committee is also looking for members as well. The first meeting is on the 10th of October. Am I forgetting anything else that was on my list? I think that should be good. Please expect an email from me in the next, probably going to be maybe late tomorrow, maybe Saturday. And that is going to have all of the meeting minutes, all of the notes from today, and all of the announcements. I ask that you please send those also to your constituents in some form or fashion. So you have all of that. And then anything I forgot, I'm going to put in that email. So please check it. I would like to ask that we get the results of the elections, please, before we adjourn. Also, preferably with a microphone if you've got one. Good. I didn't see it. I didn't know. I didn't hear that.
I don't think the mic is working on Zoom.
Yep. Still warming up. Is it working now?
Yeah,
Great.
thanks.
That's great because I had to close the ballot anyways. Okay, so on the question of Bill 54-001, yes 27, abstain 2, no 1, that bill carries. 54002, Avala's nomination bill. That was Al Fonseca nomination bill. 54002 is Avala's nomination bill. Yes, 28, no, 1, abstain, yet 1, that carries. 54003, Agnat's nomination bill. Yes, 27, abstain, no, 2, no, 1, that carries. 54004, Moscoso nomination bill. Yes, 26, abstain, 3, no, 1, it carries. 54005 was postponed. 54006, Standing Committee's duty reassignment. Yes, 27, abstain, 2, no, 1, that carries. 54007 was postponed. 54008 is special election resolution. Yes, 26, abstain, 3, no, 1, that carries as well.
All right, thank you. Do I have a motion to adjourn the meeting at the time that it is? So moved. Do I have a second? Second, all right, and with no objections, that's our meeting, everybody.